Hello, my name is Rye, and welcome back to the channel. And welcome to the next video going over Set 1's support cards. Or more specifically, my game Battlecore TCG's Set 1 support cards. And the first card, as you can see, is 1-Up, but before we get into that, make sure to do all the YouTube stuff as you know. Also be sure to check out some of my video game playthrough series, and you can buy packs as well. I'm putting that in the description and all that good stuff. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get back into it. It's been quite a while since I made one of these videos, and I decided to save on editing a bit and just use the official Instagram here just to showcase these cards, and so you can see how all this works. But anyway, on to the actual videos themselves. So 1-Up is a price 0 boost card with the effect that says draw 1 card and gain 1 point. 1-Up can only be activated once per turn. So it is a price 0 card, so literally as cheap as you get. You pay 0 to do it. You just do it whenever you can, pretty much. And boost means that it can only be activated on your turn, but it can be activated during either during your main phase or the end phase. And it allows you to have the amazing benefit of drawing a card and gaining a point for free. It is a hard once per turn because it specifically says 1-Up, the name of the card, in the effect. 1-Up can only be activated once per turn. So because of that, that means that no matter how many copies of this card you have, it can only be activated once per turn. Whereas if it just said this card, that would mean that just per copy once per turn. But because it says the name, that's a hard once per turn. And so it's an amazing card, but you're only going to be able to do it once per turn. But getting an extra card draw and, more importantly, an extra point is huge, because it's basically putting you a turn ahead of the opponent. Because you have one extra card, well, not really one extra card, because you're really in card advantage. You're not going positive. You're just neutral because you're trading this card for another card, but you're also gaining a point on top of that. So you are kind of like a turn ahead of the opponent, and that is huge, even though it's just one extra point. So this is an incredibly strong card. It's to the point to where I've considered having to restrict it and whatnot, but I'm just going to settle for not reprinting it, so it eventually rotates out. But this, for right now, unless I bring it back or, errata it or something, this is a phenomenal card. And anytime that you draw into it, it's worth using, pretty much. Anyway, then the next card is Mask of the Forsaken. Mask of the Forsaken is another really, really solid card. Mask of the Forsaken is a price 1 item card with the effect +0/+1, so +1 to your armor. And if this monster would be discarded, so the monster this card is equipped to would be discarded, you may discard this item card and one-handed card, and then discard the card discarded, and discard the card discarding this monster card and negate its effect. So basically, if the monster that Mask of the Forsaken is equipped to is going to be discarded because, let's say, it's being attacked or it's being targeted by some card effect that discards it or something, whatever, like Black Hole or something, then you're able to discard this card and a card from your hand. And if you do that, then you get to get rid of the card that would be threatening to take out yours. and negate its effect, so whatever it was doing to discard your card doesn't happen. And on top of that great protection effect, it's, as of set 1, probably the best protection effect in the game. It gives you an additional armor, and so that's nice. Just giving you additional survivability even while not activating the effect. But yeah, so this is... I hope it's fairly clear why it's so good. It's really useful to have something like this, especially to protect your more important cards. So, this is definitely going to be one of those cards that's like a consideration, especially if you're running cards that you really, really want to keep in play. Like certain boss monsters and whatnot. And really discourage the opponent from wanting to do anything to it. The next card is Minute Land. Minute Land is a price 0 field card with the effect that says that you can discard 2 cards of different types. Now this was not worded very well because it's very early on in me making this game, and you might notice that with some of the cards where they're just not worded super well, so I'll explain in more detail what it means by different types. But anyway, discard 2 cards of different types from your hand. If you do, then search 1 field card. So this is just a good option for helping you more reliably get to your other copies of whatever main field card your strategy's using. Especially if you're okay with trading cards in your hand, trading resources in your hand to do this, because it is price 0, so you wouldn't be paying any points for it. And so if it's one of the price 1 field cards, then you could play this thing turn 1, discard 2 cards from your hand, and be able to search out that Tree Vitality or that Star of Ruin or whatever, and be able to play it for turn 1 and move on. But yeah, so this is a very solid card. It's a little frustrating sometimes to have to use it because of the big cost of discarding 2 cards from your hand. But being able to get access to the main driving factor and what's making the deck work, often being that field card, especially in early on metas, then it can often be worth it to at least run, 1 or 2 copies of this, or maybe even 3 copies of this card, just to kind of like simulate having additional copies of that field card in your deck. And onto it's a field card, so instead of being a one and done thing like boost cards, like you activate it and then it's discarded, it stays on the board, it stays on the field, as the name implies, and it can only be activated during the main and end phase, same thing as boost cards. But onto that, the description of that different types, cards of different types, that means in the broadest terms possible. If you have let's say you have a card that is you have a monster and a support card in your hand, you could discard both of them. If you have 2 support cards that are of different categories, so boost and trap, you could discard those to activate this. If you have 2 monster cards that have 2 different types, let's say one is a nature plant type and the other is a plasma plant type. One is nature and one is plasma, different types. It's in the broadest terms of typings, so whether it's a monster and a support, 2 supports with different categories, or 2 monsters with different, typings, whether it be an elemental or descriptive typing difference. You would discard both of those to be able to play, or be able to search out a field card from your deck. Because remember, if it does not specify from where, then it's assumed to be from the deck. Again, it's a solid card. It's kind of one of those cards that, you don't really want to play if you don't have to, but if you don't have any other options and you really, really need to get that card in play, like something like a Star of Ruin deck is the main ones that I can really seriously consider running this in, then, go for it for obvious reasons. Anyway, and then the next card is Crazed Mask. Alright, so Crazed Mask is, in spite of the creepy artwork, is a very interesting card. It is a price 3 item card that gives +5/+0. So it gives +5 to the power of the card. Yeah, +5. So additional 5 power. I'm pretty sure that's the biggest individual stat boost given by any card. Like to one particular stat. It's huge. But it comes with a great downside. If the equipped card isn't a Scream type, then when attacking, flip a coin. Heads, you choose the target of this attack. Tails, the opponent gets to choose. Yeah. So, if you equip this to a Scream type, it's just a free +5 to power. There's not a whole lot of really good Scream types in set 1, but later on, better ones are there. Cards like Shredder come to mind, which would be terrifying with a Crazed Mask, but that's set 2. But anyway, if it's not a Scream type, then you have to flip a coin to see whether you or the opponent gets to choose the target of the attack. So the obvious use is, oh, put this on your Scream types and just go crazy. Or, if you're in a tough situation, put it on one of your cards and hope for the coin flip. Hope for the heads. Or, one of my favorite ways of using it is to put it on one of the opponent's cards to discourage them from using that card. If they have a really big threat on the board, you can just equip this onto that card, as long as it's not Scream type, because you can equip your item cards onto the opponent's cards. You can choose to equip this Crazed Mask onto one of the opponent's cards, and they will probably not want to use it anymore to attack with and whatever. And so it's just a nice way of like pseudo shutting down the opponent's cards. And I love it when we can find cool uses for cards that aren't, that clearly weren't originally thought of as a way to use it, but we later found out, oh, this could be a use for it. And that's how Crazed Mask worked, is when I was making this card, I didn't think of it like that. But after some playing with some other people and whatnot, that almost like hidden use was shown, and it's like, hey, this is actually kind of useful. This isn't just like a weird meh card. It's actually has some utility, and it's really fun to find cards that you just kind of see as like, on the surface, actually having some pretty cool utility and use cases. The next card is Attack Rebound. It is a price 1 trap card, and the effect says change the target of one attack. Fun fact, this is the only trap card in set 1. That's it, that's the whole fun fact. This is the only one in set 1. In later sets, more trap cards are made, but for some reason I only made one for the entirety of set 1, and here it is. And it's an amazing card. It's not like overpowered or anything crazy like 1-up or whatever, but it is very much useful. For 1 point, you get to change the target of an attack. And it's a trap card, so it can only be activated during the battle phase, but on either player's turn. So if the opponent is attacking, which they would need to be in the battle phase to do so, then you can activate this and say, no, actually, you attack yourself and take out that card. Or no, you attack one of your other cards and take out that card. Or whatever. Often one of my favorite plays is to either take out the card that's attacking with this, or, rebound it back at them pretty much. Or, fun fact, which is like the only situation where a card can attack itself, is if the target of the attack is being changed by like a card effect or something like Attack Rebound or Master Hive. But With Attack Rebound, you can also change it to target one of the opponent's other monsters that they have in play that have not attacked yet. And so you not only basically nullify the attack from the attacking monster, you know, protecting you from it, but you also get to, you know, go ahead and just deal with one of the other cards so that other card cannot attack either. Like, cannot attack you either. And so it's pretty useful for having both of those use cases, you know? But yeah, so that's Attack Rebound. Really, really like this card. But yeah, consider running it. And then the final card that we're going to be going over today is a card called Divine Discovery. Divine Discovery is a support card specifically for the Ori archetype. So the Ori group of cards, so stuff like Ori Drown and Ori Quake and whatnot. But anyway, it is a price 2 boost card with the effect that says search 2 Ori monsters and reduce their price by 2 for this turn. It's pretty simple. You're just searching your other cards to get them out easier and cheaper. It's basically a better search, because you're not only searching an Ori monster, but you're searching 2, which is obviously good, but you're also reducing both of their price by 2, and that's also really good. Now, for set 1, you're not going to see a whole lot of use for this, you know, for just being able to cheat out cards, because this is a price 4 card and this is a price 3 card, so you're not getting either of them out for free, and it already would cost 2 points to do this. But just with the introduction of mini set 1 or full on into set 2, we have Ori Blast, which is price 2, so you would be able to activate this and play 2 for free. But it only searches from the deck, so you're not going to be able to reuse cards that, you know, that have already been used and sent to the ground zone or whatever, and you're not going to be able to reduce the price of cards in your hand. So it kind of turns stuff like Ori Blast into a bit of a garnet, if you know what that means. Basically cards that you need to play, but you kind of just want to keep in the deck and never truly draw into, because you have effects like this that just make them way better. Yeah, that's the Divine Discovery. It's one of the few pieces of support right now for the Ori archetype, but they get a lot more support later on. They kind of just consistently get pieces of support every single set, so they slowly get better and whatnot. And so with favorable reprints and stuff, they can eventually become a strong strategy, but as of set 1, you only have this and then their 2 monsters, and that's it. But yeah, that's Divine Discovery, and that is going to be the last card that we go over today. So like I said at the beginning of the video, make sure to like and subscribe and all the YouTube stuff, and be sure to check out the Instagram, which is right here, and I have a link in the description. And keep up to date with all these most recent cards, because it's really exciting to see what's happening. But yeah, so again, thank you all for watching for this long, and have another amazing day, and fare thee well.